If you grew up in 1960s Canada, number one will break your heart. Point 10 Christmas memories that shaped a generation. Some will make you smile. One will take you right back to that living room floor with a crayon in your hand. It's December 1965. Snow falling, pine and cinnamon in the air, bubble lights glowing on the tree. Your heart pounding because Christmas morning is almost here. Now, if you felt that, keep watching. Let's go back to Christmas the way it used to be. Number 10, oranges in the stocking. Let's start with something simple. Something that might seem small today but meant everything back then. The orange at the bottom of your stocking. Every Christmas morning in 1960s Canada, after you pulled out the candy canes and the ribbon candy, and maybe a small toy or two, your fingers would reach the toe of that little stocking hanging from a mantle. And there it was. Round, heavy, perfect. A navel orange wrapped in tissue paper, cold from sitting by the window all night. IT sounds almost silly now, doesn't it? An orange as a gift. But here's what younger generations don't understand. Oranges weren't available year-round back then. They were shipped from California or Florida, and they arrived in Canada just before Christmas. That orange in your stocking wasn't just fruit. It was a taste of somewhere warm when everything outside was frozen solid. You'd peel it slowly, letting the citrus spray fill the air, mixing with the smell of pine and with smoke. That scent became part of Christmas itself. Whether you grew up in a farmhouse on the prairies or a row house in Montreal, that orange was there. Your parents had received one from their parents, and their parents before them. Oh, you remember that first bite on Christmas morning? The sweetness mixing with all the other magic of the day? Number 9, bubble lights on the tree. Now here's something that mesmerized an entire generation. Bubble lights, if you had them on your family tree in the 1960s, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those glass tubes filled with colored liquid that would heat up from a bulb and start a bubble like tiny lava lamps right there on your Christmas tree. Red, green, blue, orange. Each one glowing and bubbling away while you sat on the shag carpet in your pajamas. Completely hypnotized. You could watch them for hours. And many of us did. There was something almost magical about the technology. You didn't understand how it worked. You just knew that when those lights started bubbling, Christmas had officially arrived. The tree was alive. The house was transformed. Everything felt different. Your father would spend half the evening trying to get them all working. One bulb goes out, the whole string might fail. You'd hear him muttering under his breath while your mother reminded him that company was coming tomorrow. But when they finally flickered to life and those bubbles started rising, that was the moment the holiday began. Some families still have their original bubble lights tucked away in boxes. Others lost them to time, to moves, to the switch to safer artificial trees. But nobody who saw them ever forgot them. Can you still picture them glowing on your family tree? Number 8, the school Christmas concert. If you went to school in 1960s Canada, December meant one thing: the Christmas concert. Every child in every school across this country participated. There was no opting out. From the tiniest kindergartners to the oldest students, everyone had a role. You practiced for weeks, learning the carols, memorizing your one line if you were lucky enough to have a speaking part, figuring out how to stand still on those wooden risers without fidgeting. Your mother would make your costume. Maybe you were an angel with wire hanger wings covered in white fabric. Maybe you were a shepherd with a bathrobe and a towel on your head. Maybe you were just part choir, wearing your Sunday best and hoping you remembered all the words to "Away in a Manger." The gymnasium would be packed. Every parent, grandparent, aunt, and uncle crammed onto folding chairs or standing along the walls. The room smelled like wet wool coats and floor polish. And when those lights dimmed and the first notes played, something shifted. The whole community was there together. Farmers from outside town, shopkeepers who closed early, families from every background who'd made Canada their home, all of them watching their children sing about peace and goodwill. The concert wasn't fancy. The singing wasn't always on key, but it didn't matter. What mattered was that every single child was part of something bigger, and every single family was there to witness it. Did you have a moment on that stage you still remember? A line you forgot? A costume disaster? Tell us in the comments. Number 7. Midnight Mass in the Snow. For many Canadian families in the 1960s, Christmas Eve meant one sacred tradition: midnight Massachusetts, and getting there was half the experience. Picture this. It's nearly midnight. The temperature is well below zero. Snow is crunching under your boots as your family walks through the quiet streets toward the church. Your breath makes clouds in the frozen air. The streetlights cast circles of gold on the snow. Everything is still except for other families emerging from their houses, all headed to the same place. The church would be glowing from within. Candles everywhere. The smell of incense and evergreen mixing together. You'd squeeze into a pew with your parents, your siblings, maybe your grandparents who'd come stay for the holiday. In Quebec, it was Messe de Minuit, followed by the Réveillon feast that would last until dawn. In Ontario and the Maritimes, families would walk home afterward to the silent snow, the carols still ringing in their ears. The service itself felt different from regular Sunday Massachusetts. More mysterious, more magical. The music swelled, the candlelight flickered, and when Minuet Cratines or O Holy Night filled the sanctuary, even the most restless child felt something sacred. You walk home exhausted, your mittens soaked, your cheeks red from cold. But sleep wouldn't come easy, because tomorrow was Christmas. Whether your family was Catholic, Anglican, United, or any other denomination, that midnight walk to the snow was part Christmas itself. The world felt holier on that night, quieter, more full of possibility. Number 6. The real Christmas tree ritual. Now we're getting into memories that shaped us. The real Christmas tree, that in 1960s Canada, almost nobody had an artificial tree. Christmas meant a real tree, and getting that tree was a family expedition. For some families, it meant driving out to a tree farm, trudging through snow up to your waist, your father carrying a saw, everyone arguing about which tree was perfect. You finally agree on one, and Dad would lie on his back in the snow, saw it while you held the trunk steady. For city families, it meant the tree lot, usually a corner store parking lot transformed for December, strings of lights overhead, the smell of pine hitting you before you even got out of the car. The man running the lot wore heavy gloves and a toque pulled down over his ears. Your father would haggle over the price while you walked among the trees, running your mittens along the needles. And then came the moment Dad dragged it to the front door. That smell, that incredible, impossible to recreate smell of fresh-cut pine filling the entire house. It meant Christmas had arrived in a way nothing else could. Your mother would direct the positioning. A little to the left. No, back to the right. Rotate it. The bare spot is showing. The tree stand would leak water onto the floor. Someone would drop an ornament. The lights would tangle. None of it mattered. Because when it was finally decorated, when those bubble lights started glowing and the tinsel caught the light, your living room became the most magical place on earth. That smell of real pine needles stayed in the house for weeks, mixed with the scent of baking and with smoke. Now we're getting into the memories that really matter. The ones that shaped who we became. The ones that still hit you when you least expect it. A song on the radio, a glimpse of falling snow, the taste of something your grandmother used to make. These next 5 memories aren't just nostalgia. They're part of what it meant to grow up Canadian in the 1960s. They're the moments that connected us coast to coast, from Vancouver Island to the fishing villages of Newfoundland, from the farms of Saskatchewan to the row houses of Halifax. Let's keep going. Number 5. Christmas morning and waiting on the stairs. Here's a memory that will hit every single person who grew up in 1960s Canada. The waiting. Christmas morning. You woke up in the dark. Maybe it was 5 a.m. Maybe earlier. Your eyes flew open and your heart was already pounding before your feet hit the cold floor. But here was the rule. The rule that every Canadian family seemed to have in some version. You could not go downstairs until Mom and Dad were awake. So you waited. Maybe you crept to the top of the stairs and sat there, straining to hear any sound from your parents' room. Maybe you woke up your siblings and you all huddled together, whispering. Try to guess what was under the tree. Maybe you stared at the ceiling, willing time to move faster. The anticipation was almost unbearable. Almost painful, and also somehow wonderful, because when you finally heard your parents stirring, When your mother's voice finally called out that you could come down. When you finally raced down those stairs and saw the tree lit up with presents underneath. That moment, that single, crystallized moment of pure childhood joy. Nothing in adult life has ever quite matched it. The waiting was part of the magic. We didn't know it then, but we were learning something about anticipation, about patience, about how wanting something and waiting for it made the getting so much sweeter. Today's children will never know that particular magic. Instant everything has robbed them of it. But we knew. We remember. Do you remember the rule in your house? Could you open one gift Christmas Eve? Or did you have to wait? What's your Christmas morning memory? Number 4, the one special gift. Here's where 1960s Christmas was completely different from today. You didn't get a mountain of presents. Maybe you got 3 or 4 gifts total. Maybe 5 if it was a good year. And out of those, there was always one. The one you've been dreaming about for months. The one you'd circled in the catalog and hoped with everything you had would appear under that tree. A new pair of skates. A doll with real hair. A chemistry set. A toy train. Hockey equipment that your father had been putting on layaway at Canadian Tire since September. When you unwrapped that gift, when you finally held in your hands after months of wanting, the feeling was indescribable. And here's what made it different from today. That one gift had to last. It had to be enough. There wasn't another birthday's worth of presents coming in February. There wasn't a constant stream of new toys throughout the year. You cherished it. You took care of it. You played with it until it wore out, and even then you kept it. The scarcity made the gift precious. The waiting made it meaningful. The appreciation was genuine because you understood, even as a child, that your parents had worked hard and saved carefully to make this moment happen. One gift that meant everything. Compare that to children today receiving so much they can't even remember what they got by New Year's. We learned something valuable in those 1960s Christmases. We learned that less truly could be more. Number 3, Christmas dinner with everyone there. This is where Christmas stopped being about presents and became about something deeper. The dinner table. In 1960s Canada, Christmas dinner meant everyone. And I mean everyone. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, the neighbor who didn't have family nearby, the bachelor uncle who lived alone. Your mother had been cooking for days. The turkey was enormous. The table had been extended with boards your father kept in the basement, specifically for this purpose. There weren't enough matching chairs. Kids sat on phone books or piano benches. The dining room was too small, so the table stretched into the living room. It didn't matter. Everyone squeezed in. The food varied by family and by region. In Quebec, there'd be tourtière alongside the turkey. On the prairies, pierogies might appear if your family was Ukrainian. In the Maritimes, there might be fish alongside the meat. Every family had their own traditions, their own recipes passed down through generations. But what was universal was a togetherness point, 3 generations eating together. Stories being told. Arguments breaking out over nothing important. Children sneaking away from the table to play while adults lingered over coffee and Laura Secord chocolates. The noise, the chaos, the warmth of too many bodies in too small a space. After dinner, the men would retreat to the living room to watch Hockey Night in Canada on the CBC, while the women cleaned up, though even that division was starting to shift by the late 60s. And the children? We'd be on the floor with our new toys, half listening to the hockey game, completely content. Everyone we loved in one room. Everyone together. For families who've since scattered across the country, who've lost grandparents and parents, who now eat Christmas dinner with empty chairs at the table, this memory carries extra weight. We had something precious then. We just didn't know how precious until it was gone. Number 2, the Santa Claus Parade. Now we're at number 2. And this one is about Canadian pride as much as it is about Christmas. The Santa Claus Parade. Most people don't know this, but Toronto's Santa Claus Parade, started by Eaton's apartment store in 1905, was the first of its kind in the world. The Macy's Parade in New York didn't start until 1924. We did it first. It was ours. And in the 1960s, it was absolutely magical. Whether you attended in person, bundled up on the curb with a thermos of hot chocolate, or watched on CBC television with your family in the living room, the Santa Claus Parade marked the official beginning of the Christmas season. The floats were elaborate. The bands played carols that echoed off the downtown buildings. Clowns handed out candy. And the anticipation built and built as each float passed, because you knew who was coming at the very end. Santa. When that final float appeared, pulled by teams of horses or surrounded by elves, and Santa Claus himself waved at the crowd, children across Canada collectively lost their minds. This was it. Christmas was really coming. Santa was real and he was here. For kids watching on television in Vancouver or Winnipeg or Halifax, the experience was shared. Millions of Canadian children watching the same parade, feeling the same excitement, believing in the same magic. The parade represented something bigger than Christmas. It represented Canadian tradition, Canadian innovation, a purely Canadian experience that had nothing to do with America. That we created this. It was ours. And every December, it reminded us of that. Did you watch the parade in person or on television? What's your strongest memory of seeing Santa at the end? Number 1, the Eaton's Christmas Wish Book. And here we are. Number 1, that if you grew up in 1960s Canada, this memory is burned into your soul deeper than almost any other. The Eaton's Christmas Wish Book IT arrived in October or early November, thick as a phone book, heavy with dreams. Your mother would bring it in from a mailbox, and for the next 2 months, it became the most important object in your house. You'd lie on the living room floor, on that shag carpet, turning the pages slowly. The toy section first. Always the toy section first. Dolls with eyes that opened and closed. Electric train sets that cost more than your father made in a week. Board games you'd never heard of. Hockey equipment endorsed by players from the Maple Leafs or the Canadiens. And then you'd do it. You'd take a crayon, and you'd circle everything you wanted for Christmas. The realistic items and impossible dreams. The $20 bicycle and the $5 game. All of it circled in crayon. Your wish list written without words. Your mother would find those circles in December. She'd never say anything, but somehow some of those circled items would appear under the tree. The Eaton's catalog was more than a catalog. It was every child's direct line to Christmas magic. It was proof that somewhere out there, wonderful things existed, and maybe, just maybe, they could be yours. For rural families especially, families in small prairie towns or maritime fishing villages or northern communities, the Eaton's catalog was their only connection to the wider world of goods. You couldn't just drive to a department store. You ordered from the catalog and waited for the package to arrive. And the waiting made it sweeter. Always the waiting. When Eaton's closed its doors forever in 1999, something in Canadian Christmas died with it. The catalog had already been gone for years by then, replaced by flyers and eventually by the internet. But for those of us who remember lying on that carpet with a crayon in hand, the loss was real. No algorithm will ever replicate the feeling of turning those pages. No online wish list captures the same magic. The Eaton's Christmas Wish Book wasn't just paper and ink. It was where Canadian children learned to dream. And those dreams, circled in crayon on a cold October afternoon, became Christmas itself. What did you circle in the Eaton's catalog? What gift made it from those pages to under your tree? Share your memory below. We want to hear every single story. 10 memories. 10 pieces of Canadian Christmas that don't exist anymore. At least not in the same way that we don't wait for the Eaton's catalog. We don't watch bubble lights for hours. We don't walk to midnight mass through silent snow. The world got faster, busier, more convenient. And that's progress worth acknowledging. But something was lost, too. The waiting, the simplicity, the togetherness, the magic of wanting something for months and finally holding in your hands. Those of us who grew up in 1960s Canada, we carry these memories like treasures. They're not just nostalgia. They're who we are. They shaped how we celebrate, how we give, how we gather with our families even now. And maybe that's the real gift. These memories don't belong in the past. They live in us. They live in the traditions we pass down, the recipes we still make, the stories we tell our grandchildren about a time when Christmas smelled like real pine needles and tasted like oranges and sounded like carols crackling from a radio. If any of these memories took you back, if your eyes stung just a little, if you could almost smell that Christmas tree again, you're not alone. Millions of Canadians share this with you. So share this video with someone who remembers. Leave a comment telling us which memory hit you hardest. Tell us what we missed. Tell us about your grandmother's kitchen on Christmas morning, your father wrestling with the tree stand, your first glimpse of Santa at the end of that parade. These are our memories, and together, they're our story. Merry Christmas, Canada. Then and now,